right, hi everyone, welcome back. It's been a minute since I've updated and since I have come to personally to kind of continue the story. So, to give a recap, the last time that I shared something, we talked about the day that my dad passed, and we talked about a lot of the traumas that were involved with that day, just how I really didn't have that much space to be able to process his passing. Um, People were told immediately when I would have preferred for them not to be told immediately, that sort of thing. And we just discussed a lot of the traumas that were involved with that day. Um, so since then, and the reason why it's been a minute since I've updated is because we had my dad's celebration of life, which was really beautiful. We had it at a beach, and it was a really beautiful celebration of life. And it was a very complicated day of emotions for me. I was very mixed on a lot of things. On one hand, again, it was a really positive experience. There was a lot of really good experiences that I had there. I felt a lot of love and support from people, particularly family members who I never really had the opportunity to be close to before. Again, some more of those cousin uncles who really kind of came in and were able to be there for me, were able to be really supportive. Who I met them probably once when I was really little, and didn't really talk to them since then, but we've become pretty close through this whole ordeal. And so just being able to spend time with them, have them there to support me and kind of prop me up on each side and keep me going was just, I couldn't have done it without them. My family, being there, my mom and my boyfriend, they were really, really good sources of support, and a couple of other people who knew what was going on, knew the situation. But it was also really complicated and difficult for a multitude of reasons. So, for one thing, I deal with a lot of complicated emotions as far as like how to feel about my dad's passing. I'm, meeting people who are very broken up about it, who are very emotional because, and every time they walk up to me, your father was a great man. He was a great man. And it's hard because I'm very grateful that that was their experience. But as we've kind of covered in these videos, that wasn't quite my experience. And so, I let them share with me their experiences with him and things like that, which are great to hear. Though it's always nice to hear the positive, but at the same time, then I have them being like, he was a great father, and it's like, and that's just such a bittersweet statement for me to hear from people, them just assuring me how great of a father he was, and I just couldn't quite bring myself to agree with them or disagree with them one way or another to say anything, because on one hand I don't want to pop their illusion and hurt their feelings, like that's not what this is for, but on the other hand, like, I in good conscience am not going to just sit there and agree with them because it's honestly just not true. So it was really complicated hearing a lot of those things. Also, people coming up to me, oh, you were his oldest, oh, and hearing other stories about how I supposedly collected shot glasses, or I heard another one, I was a geologist or something like that. I was hearing all of these really just interesting stories from people, just supposedly about me, and like, oh yeah, your dad, we were talking on the phone, people coming up to me, hugging me, acting like they knew me. I didn't know them, necessarily, and it's just because they thought that we were talking over the phone. They thought that I was texting them or say like, oh, tell them I said hi, to my dad, when that wasn't happening. And so it was really awkward. It was really hard because it's like, again, my intention is not to hurt anybody, so I'm not trying to like make this hard for other people, but they definitely thought that we had a certain relationship when we didn't, and I didn't even really recognize them sometimes, and that was really uncomfortable and kind of hard to get through, because you're just kind of being faced with the lies and having to deal with those. And again, I've had a lot of people be like, oh, you don't know anybody anything, you don't need to say anything, and it's like, I can't not say something, you know what I mean? Like, I can't just sit there and let them say, oh, you're his oldest, especially knowing that that's like such a triggering statement for me. Anyway, so it was a lot to get through, but ultimately really grateful for my family that were there, really grateful for my friends. Some of my friends showed up, and that was really great. I just appreciated that a lot. Anyway, yeah, so it was a hard experience. But so going back, we're gonna talk about what kind of came next after my dad passed, because as I mentioned before, unfortunately the drama did not stop there. There was a lot more that came out afterwards. So um we'll just start the day after my dad passed, okay? um I wake up in the morning after my dad passes, and I found out that my uncle, my actual uncle, for the intents of this video, we're gonna call him Uncle Mooley. I'm gonna give him a name because it's gonna be easier and clearer going forward, especially because there's a part where he speaks in the third person. So for me to kind of give you the full effect of how he said something, I need to give him a name. So we're gonna call him Uncle Mooley, okay? And so he and my dad's girlfriend told everybody. They let everybody know. They went through my dad's phone book and basically like went down the list of who he was texting alphabetically. I don't know what they were doing, and they texted everybody and let them all know that my dad had passed. Sent like a really weird cryptic message in doing so, so a lot of people were very confused as to what they had received. And I began to be bombarded with people, just bombarded with all of these people who were checking in. Again, really sweet, really kind that people want to check in. You know, but it was a lot. It was a lot to process, a lot to handle, especially knowing, again, I was going in for dental surgery the next day. And so I have all these people who are trying to call me, figure out what was going on, because they got kind of cryptic messages where they're like, it said that he passed, but I didn't, like, what happened? It said he's in heaven now. What's going on? Like that was basically, it was like, he passed, he's in heaven now. And that was it. Like, it was very cryptic. So it's like nobody had any information, and they were all really confused and really concerned. And so they were all reaching out to me. So I was trying my best to respond to them as quickly as possible. And again, just reeling with everything that had just happened. But anyway, with that being said, you know, I was being bombarded, but I wanted to make sure that certain people knew, right? So, you know, my Uncle Mooley had told a bunch of people, like he told a bunch of people, but I wanted to make sure there were specific people that knew on that list, because I didn't know if he was going itemized. Apparently the girlfriend made sure to reach out to everybody and tell people at my dad's work, which I didn't want to release that information yet either, but again, nobody asked me. And when I tried to tell them I didn't want anyone to know, they said, okay, sure, but then they didn't really respect my wishes. So neither here nor there at this point, but yeah, it was a lot to deal with. So, yeah, so I decided I wanted to text certain people to let them know. I don't have his phone at this point. The girlfriend had originally taken it from dad's hospital room, and my uncle had it at that point. So at some point over the night, she had given my uncle the phone. So he has the phone at this point. So this is going to be important for later. So just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, so I contact my uncle and I say, hey, can you please send me a few of these numbers, like from my dad's phone. I need specifically some of, because he loved to play video games. He had like a really close, tight-knit group of people that he played video games with. He'd been playing with them since I was probably in high school. It'd been like a really long time. I remember them being around and him talking about their names like specifically. And so I wanted to make sure that they knew. I was concerned, you know, I wanted to make sure that they knew. And so, yeah, so I got those numbers from my from Uncle Mooley, and I made sure to text those friends. And I text those friends, and one friend in particular, I received a text message back from him. I received a text message back from him that day. So we have more receipts, which I will pop up so you can follow along. So yeah, I received a text message back because I just sent him a message and was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know my dad passed. I'm really sorry to have to break this to you this way. He passed at BFib yesterday. Like, I'm trying to give some basic information. And, you know, like, if you have any other questions or you want to chat about it, like, please feel free to give me a call. So something to that effect. Then he sent me a message saying, how are you doing and what happened? I have so many memories with him and tried calling for a few weeks because I felt something was off, but no answer. That's also going to be important for later, so keep that in mind. My condolences, and I pray he is in a better place now. How are the other girls doing or going? And how's your son? You have a beautiful son, by the way. Let me know if there's anything I can help with. He was family, yet we never got the chance to meet in person. Just when I thought I had seen it all. You know, like I'd been through a lot. Okay, I had seen so many things in his text messages at this point. I'd seen all of the stuff with my cousin. I'd seen all of the stuff. Like, I'd seen so much at this point that this one, like, sucker punched me. Like, I did not expect this one. It just threw me for a loop. And then he proceeds to send a picture of my dad holding my son, my supposed son. And look at him cheesing. Look at him cheesing in that picture. He just cheeses like smiling in the picture, holding some random, whose baby is that? Whose baby is that? I don't know whose baby that is. Like, I'm sitting here like looking at it and I was like, what? He literally sent me receipts with a child. Like, whose baby? I've never seen this baby before. Whose baby is that? And I'm sitting there just like, I missed the birth of my own child. Like, how did I do that? Oh my God. Like, the mother's supposed to be present when you're having a child, and I was not there because I don't remember this baby. I don't know who this baby is. Anyway, so mind you, I'm going in for dental surgery in under an hour at this point. My boyfriend he's over because he's gonna take care of me that day. He's taking a nap, okay? And I just start to cry. Like, I'm literally, like, I read that message and I saw that picture and I literally just started to cry because I didn't know what to do. I was angry. I was overwhelmed. I was exhausted. I was sad and grieving. I just felt so many different things that I think that just all of the emotions from the past like 24 hours just hit me and I just started to cry. I didn't know how else to respond. And so he wakes up, my boyfriend wakes up, and I show him the message. And he did a really good job of taking care of me because, again, I was like not in a good space when I saw that. I didn't know what to do with that information. It was literally like I thought I had seen it all, and I felt like now I'm like, oh my God, how many other things are there that are out there that are just so wrong and so not true. And he did a really good job taking care of me. Honestly, I would have fallen apart without him because, you know, everyone else that I had around me, I love them and they were so good and so supportive to me, but they were also so closely connected to this. They had a personal relationship with my dad. And so, you know, having my boyfriend there, I knew I could trust him to catch me and to hold me because he didn't have his own relationship with my pop. So I knew I didn't have to worry about him. I was able to truly just kind of feel what I needed to feel. So he was, anyway, yeah, I'm gushing now, but yeah, he was great through this. So we go to the dentist office and I'm just sitting there again, still in shock. Like, I don't know how to process what I've seen. I sent a screenshot to my mom because I was like, what is this? And mind you too, it's important to note here. So like a bit of just a bit of a story or sharing that you need to know kind of for context for this. So growing up, as I mentioned, I had, and I still do, have a bleeding disorder, okay? When I was younger, when I first got diagnosed, I was told that I wouldn't be able to have children. So I grew up, like, I think they told me that when I was like 13 or 14 years old. So I grew up knowing I wasn't going to be able to have kids, okay? Which really was a bummer because I've always loved kids and I've always wanted kids. And so, you know, my dad knew this. He knew that I wasn't going to be able to have kids. He and I talked about it before. So it was kind of honestly just like a slap in the face for him to talk about like my fertility like that and to tell people that I had a child when I didn't even think I was going to be able to, and he knew I wasn't going to be able to have a child. At this point, you know, I guess not that it really matters, or not that but like, that may not necessarily be the case anymore because I've spoken with new doctors and things like that. But at the time, growing up, and for most of my life, I grew up with this supposition. So my dad knew that, and yet he still lied about me having a baby to people, and sent pictures of him with the baby. I would have posted the baby's face, like, because I want to know whose child this is. I don't know whose child this is, but I will not put obviously another child's face online. Like, I don't know whose it is. But like, anyway, if the picture of my father looks familiar to you, if you're looking at that and you're like, I've seen that picture before, and you recognize his face in this picture, and you might know who he's holding in the picture, please let me know. I'd love to know whose baby this is. But anyway, so yeah, so that's an aside. So I have this whole thing, and I think that's probably why it hit me particularly hard, because it just felt like such a deep betrayal. And so I'm sitting there, I literally am about to go in and get dental surgery, and I don't know what to do. So I'm kind of delirious. I also haven't gotten a lot of sleep at this point because I didn't sleep well the night before. And so I just start, like, just for fun, because I needed to make myself laugh because I just was, like, in such a bad state. I pull up ChatGPT, and I don't use, like, AI and stuff like that for things that are, like, serious. So it's like, I was like, I'm just for fun, nothing I'm going to use. I'm just going to type in some prompts to see how I should, like, how would a computer recommend that I respond to this man, because I didn't know how to respond to him. I really did not know how to respond to my dad's video game friend, because, like, he literally thinks that I have a child. Like, how do you tell someone who's been deceived and lied to so deeply that they've been deceived and lied to for years? Like, I literally didn't know how to respond. So, like, I typed in a couple different prompts. How to break news that dad lied about everything and dad died. Because and then a draft statement to break news that dad lied about everything, including a husband in Kentucky named Kevin, and dad is now dead. Draft funny script to tell people that dad lied about everything and is dead now. Like, I literally typed in, like, all these different things, because I was like, and my boyfriend and I are just sitting there cracking up because we're laughing, like, reading what the recommendations are, just, like, laughing, because I'm like, I don't know how else to respond to this, because I think if I take this too seriously right now, like, I will fall apart. So I just was like, I need to just laugh about this. I don't know what else to do. So that may not be the most normal response, I guess, but I found it really funny and cathartic in the moment. So anyway, so yeah, I come home after my dental surgery. It went really well. I'm trying to rest, and my mind is just running absolutely wild. My boyfriend is trying his absolute best to distract me however he can, and it's just not working. I keep getting more messages from other people who are finding out, or other things, and it's just adding insult to injury, because somebody passed my number out, and then a bunch of people got my number from that one person, and so, like, I'm just getting, again, literally bombarded with people messaging me. And I just haven't responded to, like, really anybody, but especially that friend, because I just don't know how. I don't know what to say to him. I have no idea what to say to him, because how do you break that to somebody that, like, no, I don't have a child. Like, sorry to disappoint you. I do not have a child. Like, I don't know how to break that to someone. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to sleep on it. I need to sleep on this. I need to think about this some more. So I go to sleep. I get a text from the guy the next day. He sent me another text, and he was like, hey, can I call you sometime today? It's really starting to sink in. Okay, so he wants to talk, and I'm like, of course, please call me, let's chat about it. And I'm just trying to steel myself for whatever's going to come, because I know he's going to call me, and I don't know what he's going to say. I don't know what he's been told, and so I'm just trying to emotionally steel myself for this conversation, because I know it's not going to be an easy one. So he calls me. We chat a little bit about what happened. We chat about, like, how my dad passed. Because apparently, again, my Uncle Mully sent him a really cryptic message. And again, I found out this was a theme where he just, like, was, oh, he's in heaven now. Like, nothing else. No context, no nothing. Which tends to be really jarring to a lot of people. And he tells me, he tried to get my dad to stop making bad life choices. Again, this is a theme. Every time I speak to people, they tell me how they tried to get him to stop doing something bad or to slow down some of his bad choices, you know, and they really tried to help him. And it's like, I understand. I did the same thing for a lot of years. Then he goes, so where are you staying? And I'm like, what? And he's like, oh yeah, because your dad told me you moved to Arizona last year. You moved there with your husband who's a sheriff, right? My what? My what? I missed my own wedding? I missed my own wedding. Was it beautiful? Did we do the haka like I want to? Did it make people cry? Like, okay. And so I'm just sitting there, like, my mouth just dropped. Like, my jaw just dropped. And I'm like, okay. I cannot believe. And so he said that, like, about Arizona. I was like, oh, no, I'm in California. I've lived in California my whole life. I've never moved to Arizona. No, you live there with your sheriff husband. No, I'm not married, never been married. I don't have a husband, especially not one who's a sheriff. No. And so he's like, what? Well, that doesn't make any sense. He's, no, you do. And I'm like, okay, listen. And it was at that point that I was like, I just need to rip the Band-Aid off because I don't know what else is going to come out of this man's mouth. And I just said, my father had a very complicated relationship with the truth. And there are a lot of things that I'm beginning to find out that he was telling other people that were just very untrue. I've never been married. I live in California and I've always lived here. I don't have any sisters. And he's like, no, you guys adopted his niece. No, we did not do that. I do not have any sisters. I was not raised around any other children. None of that happened. I don't have any children myself. And I said that at that point. And he was like, what do you mean you don't have any kids? I'm like, I don't have a baby. I never had a baby. That is a beautiful baby in the picture you sent me. I don't have a baby. And then he goes, then whose baby is that? Whose baby is that? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know whose baby that is. And he's not, and I'm not finding humor in it at that moment, obviously. Like, I'm trying deeply, but it's really uncomfortable and it's really hard. Now I can laugh at it because, like, God, is that, like, just, I don't know who else really has experiences like this. Like, we need a support group or something. But, and he's sitting there just, like, his whole world, like, shaken on its foundation. I felt so bad because he was such a nice man, even to the point where he was like, you know, like, I know how hard it can be on, you know, on a woman's body, like, cause, like, my wife has, you know, like, we, like, had this and blah, blah, blah. And then he mentioned that, like, I had postpartum, and I was like, okay, so, again, missed my wedding. Again, I hope it was beautiful. Missed my wedding, missed, the birth of my child, and now I also am dealing with, like, postpartum afterwards. So there is just, like, such a rich tapestry of, like, lies in this one that it was just, like, astounding to me. It was astounding to me. And so the guy and I are just left there, and he's sitting there, he just said to me, and it was one of the most purest questions I've heard from anybody. He just, why would he lie? Why would he lie? And I just sat there and I was like, I don't know. I don't have the answer for you, and I'm really sorry. Cause, like, what else do you say? Like, what else is there to say? I have no answers. I don't know what else to say. He lied. I don't know why he lied. I still don't know. Maybe it was because he wanted, you know, all I can really think is because he wanted to relate to other people. And that's why he usually would lie, is because he wanted to either have a way to relate to other people, have a way to connect and to bond with other people. Maybe that's what it is. I know a couple of the guys in the video game group were having kids. You know, maybe that's why. Maybe he wanted a way to connect and to have that connection point. Maybe the postpartum thing was a part of that. And I'll go in more depth about that later because there's more stuff that I found out that just is totally gag. But yeah, so anyway, I had a few more conversations like this with people. Essentially, I'm still dealing, and even to this day, I'm still dealing with his fan fiction, even after his death. It's just crazy. It's astounding. And so yeah, so I had dental surgery at the on like literally the day after. I had like a doctor's appointment that week in between. I got sick at the end of the week, and I had a lot of family events that were coming up too. So I didn't really want any of my family members to know. If you're a family member who's watching this, I'm sorry if you feel like I lied to you. I just really didn't want that to put a damper on anybody's vibes or anybody's celebration. I didn't want them to sit there and feel like they had to have a special moment with me, and especially because I personally didn't know how to process what I was dealing with. But also, like, a lot of them, especially my mom's side, were pretty close with my dad. Like in the before times, they were pretty close with him, and so like I didn't know how to process this. I didn't know how to break this information to them, and so I wanted them to just have a purely good experience. I didn't want them to sit there and, again, try to figure out a way to broach that subject with me. So I just didn't tell anybody. But yeah, it was a lot to go through. It was really exhausting just trying to get through these events, and it was good in a lot of ways. I had a lot of fun with these events, but again, my dad and all of this drama and all this stuff was just really never far from my mind. And so it was an exhausting time. But days turn into weeks. More of the same tends to come out, and life goes on. So in between here, my uncle finally confesses to me about the fact that he has been having an affair, is what he called it, with my dad's girlfriend. And so he's sobbing on the phone, and just trying to confess all this stuff to me and tell me, and this is how he's saying it to me. He goes, because he's like, I'm still a good guy. He goes, Uncle Mooley is still a good guy. Uncle Mooley is still the great man you think he is. Uncle Mooley still loves you and will always be there for you. And I'm just sitting there like, it was weird because he said it like that. He said it in the third person. And I just thought that was kind of weird, but I was like, okay, like, everybody expresses those things differently. But and then he's like, I'm gonna keep your dad's phone. He also tells me that I'm keeping your dad's phone. And I'm like, okay. And at the time I was like, all right, like, I guess, somebody has to keep it. I'm not going to use it. So I guess at least it won't go to waste. I don't know. He was like, I'm keeping your dad's phone. He didn't ask me. He just told me he was keeping his phone. So I said, okay. And he also made like a really, oh yeah. And he kept asking me too. He's like, does that mean like, cause I asked him, I said, when you left the hospital, when we went to go get a hot dog, did you go to her house? Did you go to his girlfriend? And he said yes. And so at least he told me the truth at that point. So I was like, okay. And he's like, does that mean you think I'm a bad man now? And I just told him, no one is like summed up by one bad decision or one mistake. So, I'm going to be watching you, because you've broken my trust now, and you weren't there for me when I literally begged you to be there for me, and you weren't there for your kids. And so I'm going to be watching from now on. I'm going to be really cautious around you. But I don't think that makes you a bad person. That remains to be seen. What you do from here at this point is going to dictate if you're, like, what kind of man you are. It's essentially what I said, which I feel like I was trying to be very measured in my response. I was trying really hard. But it was really weird. And he tells me that he's staying with the girlfriend and that they're just kind of taking it slow and whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. And he told me, he just said all sorts of things. He's like, oh, I know you think she's toxic. I know you said that she's toxic. I'm like, yeah, but so are you. Like, you guys are both like, for different reasons. Like, you just, got out of a relationship. You probably should maybe, I don't know, go see a therapist, or like, check in with yourself, like you just lost your brother, like both of you guys just like had this huge loss and you kind of trauma bonded together, like you probably should go seek help about that. But you're adults. What am I gonna do? You're adults. You're gonna make whatever decisions you feel like you need to make. Just don't let them impact us. Don't lie to us, and do not lie to me, and we'll be okay. We'll be fine. And that was essentially what I told him. He also made a really weird, kind of off-color joke about me being his daughter now, which, like, at the time I was just kind of like, okay, because like this kind of came up a few times, because my dad, when he would be like particularly mad or like drinking or whatever and arguing with my mom, he used to be like, well, you know, that's Uncle Mooley's daughter. He would say that, and my mom would be like, what are you talking about? Like, he wasn't even here. He wasn't even around. He wasn't even in the state during that time. Like, how would that even work, you know? And so it's like, it's not even like anything that's like actually is a substantive claim, and then my dad would be like, oh, I know, you know, afterwards. So it kind of became like a running joke that we would all make with each other, because my dad used to, like, he only did it a couple times, I think, but he used to, like, you know, do that whenever he was whatever. And so he said that, he's like, oh, well, yeah, no, because apparently, you know, you're my daughter, and you're my daughter now, you might as well be my daughter now. And he made this joke, and at the time I was like, again, it's a weird joke to make, especially considering the fact that I just lost my father, but at the same time I was like, all right, like, maybe you just don't know how to relate, that's fine. So I let it go. The only reason why I'm pointing this out now, though, is because it's gonna be important later. So we planned to meet with my other family. We made a plan to meet with other family, other cousin uncles, a couple aunties and things like that, and to meet up and to discuss paying for my dad's service, and to address Uncle Mooley's getting with my dad's girlfriend, because a lot of people were really upset about that, and so they kind of wanted to have a conversation about it, and have a chance to say their piece. So I was going to be facilitating kind of a conversation, / again, a discussion about paying for his services. I was going to be facilitating that at my house. So another thing that happened is, when we were planning this, I had created a celebration of life invitation for my dad and for his service, and so I sent it out to the family and said, hey, take a look at this, tell me what you think about it, and I'm gonna make some edits. And apparently Uncle Mooley started sending it out to a bunch of people before I was ready, because I started getting RSVPs. So that was how I found out that he was sending it out to people, because I was like, who sent this out? I was not ready for you to send this out yet. So he sent out the invitation to a bunch of people before I was ready, like pretty much to everyone. And so at that point I was very irritated, and I kind of messaged him and was not ready for you to do that yet. And then I just said, you know, please bring my dad's phone back so I can get the pictures off of his phone. And at this point I'm fully like, okay, I need to hold on to my dad's phone for a while, because I don't know who he's texting, I don't know what he's saying, and he keeps sending all this information out. It is dangerous for him to have this information at the tip of his fingers, because, like, literally he's just, I don't know what he's doing, and I need to kind of streamline the information of where it's going and who's getting what. And also during this time, he did that, but he also was holding on to my dad's wallet, and he wouldn't get my dad's wallet back either. Like, he'd already brought back his, like, social security card and, like, his ID and stuff, but he wouldn't bring me, like, his actual cards and his actual wallet, which I thought was kind of weird too. So I just asked him, like, you know, at this next family meeting, please bring my dad's wallet, please bring my dad's phone, and we can go from there. So I'm sure I'm probably missing some poignant points. This was a really dark time, but also there was just a lot going on, and so you know, I'm sure I'm missing some other dramas that came up. Unfortunately, you know, my boyfriend, my mom, and a couple of my friends had just front row seats where I would learn something new and I'd be like, guess what? And I'd just tell them as it happened. So I'm sure I'm missing stuff, but you know, that's kind of the main gist of the important stuff that happened right afterwards. And so yeah, in the next one, I'm planning on wrapping this whole thing up. So we're going to talk about how that family meeting went and what happened in it. because there was a lot of stuff that happened and came out during that family meeting. A lot of loose ends are going to be tied up. So, because again, a lot more stuff came out. The truth really started to come out, and there was no way for anyone to contain it anymore, which was good. I finally figured out who Kevin is, and boy, is that a treat of a story. So anyway, yeah, I will be addressing all of those things and answering all of those questions. So, if you're still here, thank you for joining me on this journey. Please remember to keep an open mind and be kind, because the truth will follow behind.